I sat there, staring into the void. You might wonder why. Well, my wife, Jane, had just asked me to be a cuckold for a week. My name's Mike, and even before Jane asked, I already knew the answer. Still, I'd hoped she wasn't that clueless. I needed a moment to catch my breath but wanted to respond calmly first. See, I have a reputation for being an idiot, something I've embraced with pride. This all started about a week ago at my sister's barbecue. There were 15 couples, the beer and wine flowed freely, and everyone was having a blast, great food, good friends, and an all-around fantastic time. Then someone shouted, "Let's play truth or dare." Our host, my sister Barbara, kicked off the game by daring her husband Tim to massage Karen's feet. Karen's husband, Jeff, just laughed and joked that Tim should wash his hands afterward since her feet were rough. As Tim started the foot rub, Barbara turned to Karen and casually asked how the cuckolding was going. A few of us husbands, including me, reacted like someone had spit in our drinks. Then Jeff took things to another level by chiming in, completely unfazed. Karen has 3 lovers now, he said, and she's looking for more. Hearing that, my mind spun. I wanted to grab Jeff by the shoulders and demand, "What the hell is wrong with you?" But one glance from Jane, sharp enough to cut through Alaskan ice, reminded me to keep my mouth shut. I was a guest, after all. So, I grabbed another beer and stayed quiet, thinking, where's Captain Morgan when you need him? The next 10 minutes felt like torture as Jeff enthusiastically described how thrilling it was to watch Karen get double penetrated. I'd had enough. I excused myself and headed for the bathroom, where I stayed for 20 minutes, talking to myself in hushed tones to avoid sounding insane. When I finally opened the door, Barbara was standing there, hands on her hips, glaring at me like I'd ruined her entire barbecue. "What's up, sis?" I asked. Barbara, in her usual irritatingly dramatic tone, replied, "How can you be so mean?" Me? Mean? I haven't done or said a thing. I protested. I promised Jane I'd behave, and I have. Barbara went on to lecture me about how Jeff was showing his love for Karen by letting her explore, claiming it would strengthen their relationship in the end. I couldn't help myself. How exactly is screwing other men supposed to make a couple stronger? I asked. Barbara was taken aback, probably because I said it bluntly. She then argued that I should be more open-minded and understand what women want, something I clearly hadn't figured out after 11 years of marriage. "Mike, you need to try seeing things differently," she insisted. So, naturally, I asked, has Tim been open-minded about this idea of marriage? Barbara hesitated before admitting she hadn't asked him yet. She wanted Jeff to ease the other husbands into it first. For the first time in my life, I seriously wanted to slap my sister. "Barbara, if Tim agrees to this, I'll watch your kids while you're out chasing other men, and I'll even wash your car. But I'll never leave you alone with my wife again." With that, I turned and walked back to the barbecue. By the time I returned, Jeff was chatting with Karen, Jane, and a few other wives. The guys were gathered by the grill, waiting for my input. Tim was the first to ask, "What do you think about all this?" I didn't hold back. "Tim, if Jane ever tried pulling that crap, I'd be out the door before you could scratch your left nut. I don't care what Jeff is thinking, if he's into swinging, that's his business, but it's not for me." After my outburst, Jane came over and said it was time to leave. On the drive home, a 45-minute journey, Jane started her lecture. "You shouldn't judge a lifestyle until you've tried it," she said. I debated whether to start an argument right then or wait until after I got lucky. Being the idiot I am, I chose the latter. The entire drive, Jane went on about Jeff this and Jeff that. I wanted to yell, "If you like Jeff so much, why don't you marry him?" When we got home, Jane started rubbing my leg. Finally, I thought, some action. Needless to say, that night was incredible, and the next 7 days were even better. Jane got intimate with me at least twice daily. But on the 8th day, her real campaign began. "Mike, can we talk without you getting mad?" she asked. And then she dropped the bomb, "Will you be a cuckold for a week?" I said, "Sweetie, after the week you just gave me, we can talk about anything, and I'll even listen." She looked a bit anxious but started with her usual spiel, "Mike, you know I love you, right? I love you more with each passing day, but I think we need to add some spice to our romance." Now, being me, the little devil sitting on my shoulder started spinning into overdrive. Jane cut in before I could speak, saying, "Mike, don't say anything until I've finished. You never let me get my side out before you say no." I replied, "Honey, you're absolutely right, I'll let you finish, and then I'll say no." Jane launched into a heartfelt plea about how, if I truly loved her, I would become a cuckold for a week. She delivered it with those big, soulful eyes, her lips pouty, and that sad little expression that could tug at anyone's heartstrings. "Jane," I said, "I love you more than words can express. I'd do anything for you. I live to make you happy, to grow old with you, and to raise children together. But the only thing I can say to this is, hell no. Jane, if you ever ask me something like this again, I'll burn the house down and move to Canada. If you want a cuckold, buy a bird." With that, I grabbed my keys and went out. Stopping at my favorite bar, Angel's, I slid into a seat at the counter. The bartender, Kevin, makes a mean Long Island iced tea. "Kevin, my man, start me a tab. I'll take a beer and a Long Island, and keep them coming." As I sat drowning my frustration, guess who walked in? Jeff, followed closely by Tim. They took the stools on either side of me, staring as if I'd just insulted their mothers. Jeff broke the silence. "Mike, what's wrong with you? You almost ruined the barbecue we've been planning for weeks." I must have looked utterly confused because Tim patted me on the back and said, "Just hear us out, Mike." Tim and Jeff explained how they had been recording Karen's escapades with her 3 lovers. Jeff revealed it was part of a legal strategy to minimize his losses in their upcoming divorce. He went on, explaining how Karen's scheme to involve him in a threesome had backfired. In Texas, Jeff said, it still matters if the spouse cheated. My lawyer said to play along and gather all the evidence I could. I shook my head. Why give her anything after all she's done? Jeff smirked, sipping his beer. Because, my friend, the house is about to be foreclosed on, the car's leased and unpaid for 7 months, and my paychecks have been redirected to my mom's offshore account. By the time I got home at 3 a.m., or rather, to Jane's prized flower bed, I'd made peace with the absurdity of it all. Jane found me sleeping among her roses and promptly poured a bucket of water over my head. After a heated argument about my escapade, she hit me with another curveball. Karen was served with divorce papers and needs a place to stay, Jane said. Mike, she's lost so much, please, let her stay in the spare room. After some grumbling and muttered insults, I relented, but only after checking with Jeff. Do whatever you want, Jeff said. I don't care where she goes. Karen lasted 1 week. One evening, as Jane and Karen sipped wine on the patio, Karen had the audacity to ask if she could sleep with me, just for one night. The next thing I heard was glass shattering and Jane screaming bloody murder. Mike, get this witch out of my house. Jane yelled, storming inside. I can't believe I let you stay here. Get your stuff together and get out, now. Later, after some much-needed reconciliation with Jane, I reflected on an odd realization. Many women don't seem to mind sharing a man, until it's their own man on the line. What do you think? Share your opinion on this topic in the comments. Thanks for tuning into our stories, where revenge is served hot. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more sizzling tales. If you're under 18, hold off, this content isn't for the faint-hearted.